Hello everyone, it is Briximus Prime back for another Transformers action figure review, and today we're going to be reviewing the Studio Series Sideswipe and Sideways, both from Revenge of the Fallen. But both of these figures released at completely different times during the Studio Series. But anyway, let's just get right on into the review by starting with those completely different packaging. Sideswipe's packaging comes from the earlier days of the Studio Series, where they had the plastic window right here. And they both say the name right here. They both say the movie, only it's placed differently. Sideswipe is number 78, and Sideways is 88. Transformers, Generations, Takara Tomy. Here on the side, you got obligatory shots. Authentic Transformers! Here on the back of the packaging, just got a bunch of legal stuff and stuff talking about the cars they turn into and such. And then over here, we got their mug shots, and those look pretty nice, and they're both deluxe class figures. So anyway, that is basically it for the packaging. These two come with the exact same backdrops. The only difference is that Sideswipes is just slightly bigger than Sideways. And here is taking a look at the accessories, and I wanted to acknowledge that this is the one that comes with Sideways, and supposedly, according to a lot of fans, including myself, I believe, and everyone else believes, that this weapon is based on a gun from the Transformers video game, specifically Revenge of the Fallen video game, but I swear this gun looks very familiar from that game. But anyway, more on this in a second. Sideswipe comes with his two arm blades right here, painted in that nice silver, and they're cast in the gray plastic. And these do incorporate into the vehicle mode. I'll show that off later. And then he does also come with his pair of little shotguns right here. So very nice accessories. Supposedly, these little shotguns here have a place to store on Sideswipe's back, but I'm too lazy to figure it out. And Sideswipe's arm blades just have a little tab that slots into the hole on his wrist, and now he can have the blades armed on his hands, just like in the movie. As for Sideways, there's these little holes right here, and there's these little tabs on the back of the gun, so you can basically just plug this in on his back like so. To attach the gun, it's the same on either of the hands. Basically, you slide this section over over the fingers like that, and then the thumb has a little notch that will tab together when you have his thumb grip onto the gun, and now the gun is attached onto him, and it almost looks like it transformed out of his arm. So very nice attention to detail right there. Very much like the way how this gun came out. And here is taking a look at the Revenge of the Fallen Sideswipe figure first. And the head sculpt, again, the Studio Series knocks it out of the ballpark with a very screen-accurate looking head sculpt. I like the amount of silver they used, with the balance of the gray, and then those blue eyes really do pop. And I really like the way how they look. And that is basically the same I can say for the rest of the figure. The figure is done in this gray and silver color palette, though they seem to have found a really good balance in the robot mode for adding the silver. Those bits of red also pop, and then the silver and gray right here in the abdomen especially looks great. And then here in the arms looks good. Like, I would have liked maybe a little bit more silver on the legs somewhere in here, but it's not too shabby, and he's got some silver there on his feet. He's got quite the amount of back kibble, but this seems pretty standard for Sideswipe. And yeah, the only complaints I can really have about this figure is that even though he doesn't have actual feet, it is hard sometimes, and he also has those weird, like, chicken legs. It is kind of hard to find some good poses for this guy when he's not, like, obviously when he's not chopping people up while on his wheels. Like, if you're just trying to make him, like, in a walking pose, it's, like, kind of weird looking. But the other problem is because he doesn't have any actual feet or ankle pivot, it's kind of hard to make him stay balanced. But thankfully, if you pose him right, he should look pretty fine on his own. Going over the posability, he's got a ball joint at the head, which allows for some swiveling. He can look up and down, and it can do a little bit of head pivoting. These little chest bits are on a ball joint, so they can adjust to the posability. Shoulders can move outward that far, they can move down. Oh, jeez. They can rotate a full 360 as long as, you move these accordingly. They can move in and out. He does have a bicep swivel. 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. The wrists, due to transformation, can only hinge in and out. No wrist swivel would have been nice. But he does have a waist swivel, which is nice to see because Hasbro tends to, on Studio Series figures, they've been putting less and less waist swivels there, and so I'm glad they put that there. His hips can kick forward that far, they can kick back that far. He does have a thigh swivel. He does have that one bend at the leg right there, and then that other bend down there toward the ankle. And then these little toe ankle bits can shift around, so for more feet, like, balancing options. And now taking a look at Sideways. Sideways here is a very nice looking figure, and again, just like Sideswipe, he has a very nice balance between the gray and the silver to the point where it doesn't look too jarring. There's just a couple of points where it feels like he was left just a little bit unpainted. Specifically here in the thigh. Oh, actually, wait, never mind. He does actually have some bits of silver in the thighs. I didn't notice that. I guess, man, I sure look like an idiot right now, don't I? Overall, I still think the figure looks great, in maybe a little bit of silver in the feet. And I know there's not actually any silver on there, as you can see. But one of the complaints I've been getting about this figure that I've been hearing from a lot of people is he has loose ball joints in the ankles, which we'll get into the posability in a second. But as of right now, mine are not too loose. They're tight enough to stand him up, but he will fall over every now and then. But it's not as much of an issue as some other people do. But anyway, going through the necessary details, I love this head sculpt. Again, very nice use of silver and just the amount of sculpted work that goes into these head sculpts. I would have wished that the red eyes were a little bit more piercing and more noticeable, but again, I still love the way how this guy looks. Kind of has a barricade kind of esque to him. And again, the silver and gray looks great. I love all the mechanical detailing of the car bits and everything, which is another compliment about this figure. He doesn't have any fake car bits. He uses all of the car bits here. Like, all the car bits you see on here do incorporate into the actual car mode, which is also very nice to see. And again, loads of mechanical detailing all over, and his back kibble is handled actually a lot better than Sideswipe's, which is surprising to see, but I actually am really liking this guy a lot more than I thought I would because this guy is a whole lot better than the last highly anticipated figure from Revenge of the Fallen. I'm talking about you, Jolt. This guy is one of the best Studio Series figures I've handled in a long while, and again, because of the hype that has been around Sideways coming out, I'm really happy that he lives up to the hype. Going over his posability, the head is on a ball joint. It can look left and right. It can look up and down. And he does have a little bit of head pivoting. Really love the expressiveness on that ball joint. The shoulders can rotate a full 360. They can shift up and down. And there's a little bit of a butterfly joint when you use the ball joint in there. And then the arms can move in and out as well. He has a 90 degrees of bend at the elbow, and then there is no dedicated bicep swivel, but you can use the ball joint as a swivel. And then he has no wrist swivel, but you can open and close his hands right here. Very nice feature. I love how he's got these posable hands, and they do not affect the transformation in any way. Really like that. And then, surprisingly enough, he also has a waist swivel, which again, like I mentioned before, Hasbro in recent years has been slacking off on giving some of these figures waist swivels, so really appreciate seeing that one. His hips can move forward, they can move back, they can move outward very far. He does have a knee swivel. He also has a bend at the knee. And then his ankles, like I said, are on ball joints, which can go up and down. And then you can get some swivel and then a very, very subtle pivot, but it's not too big of an issue to get this guy into poses even without that ankle pivot. You can also adjust these wings a little bit, but not too much. Here they are with the last Transformers review that I had done, the Velocitron, Speedia 500, Scourge, and Override. Disappointment. And then here they are with the last Michael Bay Transformers Studio Series figure I reviewed, the Age of Extinction Galvatron. So that's it for comparisons. Now let's get these guys transformed into their car modes. And here is taking a look at Sideswipe's Corvette alternate mode, and specifically, I'm not too big of a car person, but I do know that this particular car that Sideswipe transformed into was a Corvette concept car, which means that this particular car was technically, I think that meant that there was only like one of these in existence, and they gave it to Sideswipe, I guess, to help brand for the car. It's a really nice looking car, and again, I love how all those bits of dark gray hide away. I mean, you can see the head kibble underneath, but that's not that big of an issue. It shouldn't be. But I'm glad that all the gray bits hide away, and we're able to get this nice, slick, and completely silver vehicle mode, because again, I love having silver paint on figures, especially this kind of silver paint, because it gives a high quality feel to the figure. And then just to demonstrate, his swords do incorporate into the transformation right into here, because, you know, and I mentioned I would show that off, so there it is. It rolls pretty well, though sometimes if you don't transform it right, the wheels on the front won't completely spin freely, because again, a lot of this is being very tightly tabbed together. But overall, I do love Sideswipe's alternate mode very much. And taking a brief glimpse at Sideways' alternate mode, I can't remember the particular card this is based on because it's not on the back of the box because Hasbro probably didn't have the rights for it. But here it is. Pretty sure it might have been a Nissan, I'm not sure. But this one, unlike Sideswipe's, has a blend of gray and silver, but it works it into its advantage. With the middle half being gray and then the rest of it being silver on the sides is a nice little color combination. And it doesn't bug me all that much, surprisingly. Even though there are some bits of gray poking out, I still don't really mind it. The only thing I would have liked is maybe for these rims to have been painted, because it does make them look a little cheap. And surprisingly, he has a better kibble management underneath the car than Sideswipe does, but again, it's not that big an issue. And yeah, rolls pretty well. And then for the vehicle mode, I guess gun storage, it just plugs in the same place where it did in the robot mode, right there on the back. So that is basically it for the car modes. Here they are with the last Transformers figures I reviewed, the Transformers Velocitron, Scourge, and Override. Disappointment. And then here they are with the Studio Series Galvatron in his truck mode. So that's really it for the comparisons. And that is basically it for my review on the Transformers Studio Series Sideswipe, Revenge of the Fallen Sideswipe, and Revenge of the Fallen Sideways. The problem is, I'm not really that big of a fan of Sideswipe as a character from the Michael Bay movies, at least when comparing him to his original 80s counterpart. Out of the 80s counterpart, I prefer the original Sideswipe over the movie one, but that still doesn't mean he's a bad character. That's just my personal preference when it comes to Sideswipes. I just wish they gave him a little more screen time, and I probably would like him a little more. Sideways is the same problem, but I like his figure that much, little bit more than Sideswipe, that it makes me even like the character that little bit more, especially considering a lot of the lore that goes behind Sideways. And he really lived up to the hype, and Sideswipe isn't a bad figure either. I just, it's just personal preference. So if I had to give them individual ratings, the Sideswipe I give a very solid 8 out of 10, and the Sideways I give a solid 9 out of 10. So yeah. That is basically it for this review. If you guys enjoyed the review, be sure to give me a like on the video. Comment down below what you guys think. Let me know what you guys want to see me do in the future, and expect more toy reviews coming soon, and I'll catch you guys next time.